Captain Jake Morrison looked out the window of his ship at the floating pieces of metal and rock. This used to be New Haven, a human colony where 12 million people lived. Now it was just broken parts spinning in space. The attack had happened 3 days ago. Jake's ship, the HMS Vengeance, arrived too late to help anyone. All they could do was look at what was left and try to understand what happened. Commander Lisa Parker walked up to Jake with a report in her hands. Her face was white and her hands shook a little. "Captain, we checked everything twice. Nobody survived. The aliens who did this took their time. They wanted people to suffer." Jake took the report and read it. The words made him angry, but he kept his face calm. The aliens had not just destroyed the colony quickly. They had hunted down escape pods like they were playing a game. They had bombed hospitals while doctors were helping hurt people. They had attacked schools full of children. "Who did this?" Jake asked. "The Zephyrian Collective," Lisa said. "They sent messages to 17 different star systems. They said New Haven was punishment because humans were expanding into space that belonged to them." Jake's hands tightened on the report. The Zephyrians were one of the older alien races. They had been in space for thousands of years before humans even learned to fly. Most aliens thought humans were new and weak. Admiral Paul Bennett's face appeared on the communication screen. He was back on Earth, sitting in his office. "Morrison, I need to know what you think. Was this a war attack or just terrorism?" Jake looked at the floating wreckage again. A piece of metal drifted by that used to be part of a playground. "Both, sir. The Zephyrians made sure everyone knew they did this. They want other aliens to know what happens to humans who get too big for their place." Down on what was left of the colony's surface, Lieutenant Amy Carson was leading a team through the ruins. The buildings were melted and twisted. In some places, the ground was turned to glass from the heat of alien weapons. Dr. Kevin Walsh was with Amy's team. He studied alien biology and weapons. He knelt down next to what used to be a children's hospital. "Captain," he said into his radio, "they used special weapons that made people die slowly. This wasn't about winning a fight. This was about making humans hurt." Kevin stood up and looked around. Everywhere he looked, he saw signs that the aliens had wanted to cause as much pain as possible. They could have destroyed everything quickly with big bombs. Instead, they used weapons that took hours to kill people. Back on Jake's ship, Communications Officer Rachel Kim was listening to alien radio signals. Her job was to understand what other aliens were saying about the attack. What she heard made her sick. "Captain," Rachel said, "I'm getting celebration messages from 10 different alien empires. They're calling this the correction of the human problem. They think what happened here was good." Jake closed his eyes. His daughter Sarah had been accepted to study at New Haven University. She was supposed to start classes next month. She would have been excited, making plans, buying books. Now the university was a crater in the ground. When Jake opened his eyes, something had changed in his face. Lisa noticed it first. The captain looked different, colder, more dangerous. "Sir?" Lisa asked. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Jake said. His voice was quiet, but there was something in it that made everyone on the bridge stop what they were doing. "Priority Alpha, full encryption." While Rachel worked to connect the call, Jake walked to the front of the bridge. He looked out at the destroyed colony and thought about his daughter. He thought about 12 million people who had been living normal lives 3 days ago. Going to work, playing with their children, making dinner, watching movies. The aliens had killed them all because humans were getting too successful in space. The aliens were afraid that humans might become strong enough to challenge them someday. So they decided to teach humans a lesson about staying in their place. Admiral Bennett appeared on the screen again. This time he looked worried. "Priority Alpha calls were only used for the most serious emergencies." "What is it, Morrison?" Jake turned around to face the screen. Everyone on the bridge could see that their captain had made a decision about something important. "Sir, I think it's time we reminded the galaxy why humans became the top hunters on Earth. These aliens think we're weak because we try to be peaceful. They think our kindness means we can't fight." Admiral Bennett leaned forward in his chair. "What are you suggesting, Captain?" "I'm suggesting we show them what humans are really like when someone hurts our children. The aliens celebrate this attack because they think we'll just cry and ask for help. They don't understand that we've been holding back." Jake looked out at the wreckage again. A child's toy floated by the window. It was burned and melted, but he could still tell it used to be a stuffed animal. 12 million people, Admiral. 12 million humans who just wanted to build a new life on a new world. The aliens killed them to send a message. I think it's time we send a message back. Admiral Bennett was quiet for a long moment. Jake could see him thinking about what this meant. Finally, the Admiral nodded. I'll contact the President. Earth Command will need to make some calls. After the communication ended, Jake turned to his crew. They were all looking at him, waiting to see what he would do next. Commander Parker, plot a course back to Earth, best speed. Yes, sir. How long will we be staying? Jake looked out at New Haven one more time. Somewhere in all that floating metal and rock were the bodies of 12 million innocent people. People who had died because aliens thought humans needed to be taught a lesson about their place in the galaxy. Just long enough to pick up what we need for a hunting trip, Jake said. It's time the galaxy learned what happens when you kill human children. The HMS Vengeance turned away from the destroyed colony and headed for Earth. Behind them, the wreckage of New Haven continued to spin slowly in the dark space. A monument to the mistake the aliens had just made. 3 days after the New Haven attack, President Helen Davis walked into the big meeting room in Geneva. Representatives from every human world and space station were there, either in person or watching on screens. The room was completely quiet as she turned on the holographic display. The display showed the final moments of New Haven colony. People could see the alien ships attacking hospitals and schools. They could see escape pods being hunted down like animals. The images were hard to watch, but Helen wanted everyone to see what the aliens had done. Fellow humans, Helen began, her voice carrying to every human settlement in known space. The aliens thought we were weak. They believed our expansion into space was just luck, not something we earned through hard work. Today we remind the galaxy why humanity climbed to the top of the food chain on Earth. Helen paused and looked around the room. Everyone was listening carefully. Many people had angry expressions on their faces. Others looked sad, but all of them looked determined. For too long we have let other species think that our peaceful nature means we cannot fight. We have smiled at diplomatic meetings while they whispered about the human problem behind our backs. We have traded fairly while they planned ways to limit our growth. Director Nathan Pierce walked up to the podium next to Helen. Nathan ran the Strategic Defense Initiative, which was so secret that most humans had never heard of it. For 40 years, the SDI had been working on projects that only 7 people in the entire human race knew about. Project Ragnarok is now operational, Nathan announced. Every alien empire that celebrated our loss at New Haven has been designated for complete elimination. The room erupted in surprised voices. Most of the representatives had no idea that humans had been building secret weapons. They thought Earth's military was just for defending human space from attacks. Nathan raised his hand for quiet. For decades, we have been preparing for exactly this situation. We hoped we would never need to use these preparations, but the aliens have forced our hand. In the Martian shipyards, Admiral Claire Thompson was overseeing the final checks on humanity's hidden fleet. The ships did not look like warships at all. They looked like cargo haulers, mining vessels, and research ships. This disguise had let them move throughout alien space for years without being noticed. Admiral, Chief Engineer Billy Roberts said, the quantum disruptors are ready on all platforms. Each ship can destroy an entire star system's infrastructure in under 6 hours. Claire nodded. She had been working on this project for 15 years. The ships looked harmless on the outside, but inside they carried weapons that could crack planets. The aliens had no idea that peaceful human traders had been parking planet killers in their space. How many ships do we have positioned? Claire asked. 347 ships in position throughout the territories of all 10 empires that celebrated the New Haven attack. Each ship has been there for at least 2 years. The aliens think they're just part of normal trade traffic. Meanwhile, Colonel Sam Mitchell was coordinating with deep cover operatives throughout alien space. For generations, humans had been working as translators, trade negotiators, cultural advisors, and diplomatic staff for alien governments. The aliens thought these humans were just helpful workers. The truth was that every single human working for an alien government was a trained spy and saboteur. They had been gathering intelligence and planting sabotage devices for decades. Agent Danny Brooks sent a message from the Zephyrian capital. All strategic targets mapped and confirmed. Their military command structure has been completely infiltrated. When we move, they will not even know what hit them until it's too late. Agent Lisa Chen reported from the Corvani Trade Federation. Food production centers, Power plants, communication networks, and transportation hubs all have embedded sabotage devices. I can shut down their entire civilization with a single command code. The scope of the human intelligence operation was staggering. For 200 years, humanity had been preparing for the possibility that aliens might try to destroy them. Every trade agreement had been used to place spies. Every cultural exchange had been used to gather military intelligence. Every diplomatic mission had been used to plant sabotage devices. General Mary Foster briefed the strike team commanders in a secure facility under the Rocky Mountains. Our ancestors survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars by being more ruthless than anything that tried to destroy them. The aliens picked a fight with the wrong species. The commanders looked at detailed maps of alien star systems. Every important target was marked. Military bases, government centers, industrial facilities, communication networks. Everything needed to run a civilization had been identified and targeted. Remember, Mary continued, we are not conquering these empires. We are erasing them. When we are finished, these species will no longer exist. Their worlds will be empty. Their ships will be scrap metal. Their names will be forgotten. Commander Tony Rodriguez raised his hand. General, what about civilian populations? Mary's expression did not change. The aliens showed no mercy to our civilians at New Haven. They specifically targeted our children. They have chosen the rules of this conflict. We will follow those rules. Back in Geneva, President Helen Davis continued her speech. The peaceful explorers and eager diplomats the aliens have been dealing with were not fake, but they were not the whole truth either. Underneath that peaceful exterior is something the aliens have never seen. Apex predators, who have spent thousands of years perfecting the art of total warfare. The representatives were beginning to understand the full scope of what had been hidden from them. Humanity had not just been expanding into space. They had been preparing for war on a scale never seen in galactic history. The aliens wanted to see what humans do when cornered, Helen said. They thought they were dealing with farmers and merchants who could be bullied into staying in their place. They were wrong. Helen activated another display that showed the current positions of human assets throughout alien space. The representatives could see that humanity had been systematically infiltrating every major alien empire for generations. Tomorrow, the galaxy will learn why Earth's apex predators chose to be gardeners instead of hunters. They will learn that this choice can be revoked when our children are threatened. Nathan Pierce stepped forward again. The operation will begin in 18 hours. By this time next week, the 10 empires that celebrated New Haven's destruction will no longer exist. The galaxy will understand that attacking humanity carries consequences beyond their worst nightmares. President Davis concluded her speech. We gave them peace. They chose war. Now they will receive the full measure of human capability in warfare. May their destruction serve as a permanent reminder to every species in the galaxy. Leave humanity's children alone. The Zephyrian Collective had been celebrating for exactly 72 hours when their entire empire went dark. Commander Tony Rodriguez sat in what looked like a simple cargo ship floating near Zephyr Prime, the alien capital world. His ship had been there for 3 years, delivering trade goods and picking up exotic materials. The Zephyrians had no idea they were looking at one of humanity's most advanced weapons platforms. All teams, this is command. Tony spoke into his communication device. Operation begins now. Remember, we are not here to conquer. We are here to erase. Tony pressed a button on his control panel. The harmless-looking cargo ship suddenly opened panels along its hull, revealing weapon systems that the aliens had never seen before. In less than 3 seconds, every military satellite around Zephyr Prime simply vanished. The quantum disruptors worked by tearing apart the basic structure of matter itself. The aliens' defensive shields, designed to stop normal energy weapons and missiles, might as well have been made of paper. The weapons went right through them and dissolved the ships underneath. Captain Megan Hayes commanded a similar operation at the Corvani Trade Federation capital. Her team had spent 3 years posing as cargo inspectors, learning the locations of every important facility in their space. They knew where the aliens kept their food, their weapons, their leaders, and their children. Target the food production centers first, Megan ordered her team. Let them starve before they die. The aliens had made a basic mistake about human nature. They thought humanity's reluctance to use overwhelming force was weakness. They did not understand that it was a choice that could be taken away. The Corvani had built their civilization around trade and commerce. They had huge space stations where food was grown to feed billions of people. Megan's team destroyed all of them in the first hour of the attack. Within days, the Corvani would be fighting each other for scraps of food. Admiral Steve Davis coordinated the assault on the Thraxan Empire from what appeared to be a mining station. The station had been hollow for 5 years, its interior converted into a command center and weapons platform. The Thraxans had actually paid humans to build it for them. Phase 1 complete, Steve reported to Earth Command. Their entire 5th Fleet just became space debris. They cannot call for help because their communication networks are destroyed. They cannot escape because we control all the jump points. The psychological warfare was just as brutal as the physical destruction. Humans made sure to broadcast the destruction of each empire's capital world to the next target on the list. The aliens could watch their neighbors being eliminated and know exactly what was coming for them. Agent Kate Phillips had been working in the Valdorian Council chambers for 8 years. She was trusted by the alien leadership as a skilled translator and cultural advisor. What they did not know was that she had been slowly installing sabotage devices throughout their government buildings. Their communication networks are down, Kate reported as she activated the devices. They cannot warn their colonies what is coming. They cannot coordinate their defenses. They are completely blind. The sabotage was incredibly thorough. Kate had spent years learning every detail of Valdorian technology. She knew exactly which systems to target to cause maximum chaos. Power grids failed, transportation systems stopped working, and emergency services could not respond to calls for help. Lieutenant Greg Thompson led the ground assault on the Nexari homeworld. His Marines had been disguised as workers at a human construction company that had been building infrastructure for the aliens. The Nexari had paid humans to upgrade their planetary defenses, never realizing they were giving their enemies a detailed map of every weakness. Greg's Marines moved through Nexari cities like a force of nature. They did not just attack military targets, they systematically destroyed everything needed to maintain civilization. Power plants, water treatment facilities, hospitals, schools, government buildings, all of it was reduced to rubble. "Sir," Sergeant Mike Johnson reported, "we have taken their primary data archives. Do we preserve them for historical records?" Greg's response was ice cold. "Nothing survives. We are not conquering these worlds. We are sterilizing them. Future archaeologists will find empty planets with no clue that the Nexari ever existed." The scope of the human operation was terrifying. This was not a hasty revenge attack thrown together in anger. This was a carefully planned campaign that had been decades in the making. Every human diplomat, trader, and worker in alien space had been part of the preparation. By the end of the first day, 3 entire empires had ceased to exist. The Zephyrian Collective, the Corvani Trade Federation, and the Thraxan Empire were no longer functioning civilizations. Their fleets were destroyed, their worlds were burning, and their populations faced certain death. Commander Susan Wright attacked the hegemony of Voss from a research station that had been studying their culture for 7 years. The Vossari had been proud of their advanced military technology. They had the galaxy's most sophisticated warships and the most experienced commanders. None of it mattered when the enemy was already inside their defenses and knew exactly where to strike. The Vossari fleet was destroyed while still docked at their bases. Their commanders died in their sleep when human agents activated poison gas systems in their quarters. "All primary targets eliminated," Susan reported. "The Vossari military command structure no longer exists. Their remaining ships have no orders and no leadership." Dr. Frank Wilson had been working with Corvani scientists for 6 years, helping them develop new technologies. What the aliens did not know was that Frank had been inserting subtle flaws into their designs. When he activated hidden command codes, their own technology turned against them. "Their research data has been corrupted beyond recovery," Frank reported. "If they wanted to destroy human knowledge, they can experience the same loss." Space stations exploded as their life support systems failed. Warships drifted helplessly as their navigation computers crashed. Industrial facilities shut down as their control systems went crazy. The aliens' own technology had become a weapon against them. The galaxy watched in growing horror as humanity's true nature revealed itself. The peaceful traders and friendly diplomats had been hiding apex predators who had been studying their prey for generations. Captain Linda Murphy led the assault on the Valdorian military headquarters. The building had been designed by human architects as a symbol of cooperation between species. Linda knew every entrance, every security system, and every escape route because humans had built all of them. "Remember New Haven?" Linda transmitted to her assault teams as they entered the building. "Remember the children they murdered while they slept?" The Valdorian leaders tried to surrender, offering money, territory, and promises of peace. Linda's response was simple. Surrender was an option 3 days ago. You chose war instead. By the end of day 2, 6 empires had been completely eliminated. The remaining 4 were desperately trying to contact neutral aliens for help, but their communication systems had been destroyed. They could only wait and watch as human forces moved methodically through their space, erasing every trace of their civilizations. The galaxy watched in complete terror as humanity revealed what they truly were. This was not warfare as the aliens understood. This was systematic extermination carried out with frightening efficiency. General Rick Carter coordinated the assault on the hegemony of Voss from a command ship that had been disguised as a research vessel for 5 years. The ship had been studying Vossari culture, learning their language and mapping their defenses. The aliens had welcomed the human researchers and shared their secrets freely. They wanted to see what humans do when cornered, Rick said to his strike team commanders. "Let's show them exactly what apex predators are capable of." The Vossari had spent centuries building the most powerful military in the galaxy. Their warships were huge and heavily armed. Their soldiers were trained from childhood to be warriors. Their home system was protected by layers of defensive stations and minefields. None of it helped them when the attack came from inside their own defenses. Captain Linda Murphy led the final assault on the Vossari capital ship. The massive vessel was the pride of their fleet, carrying 10,000 crew members and enough firepower to destroy planets. Linda's team consisted of just 12 humans who had been working as maintenance technicians on the ship for 2 years. "Remember New Haven?" Linda transmitted to her teams as they moved through the ship's corridors. "Remember the children they murdered while they slept?" The Vossari crew never had a chance to fight back. The humans knew every corridor, every security system, and every weakness in the ship's design. They had spent 2 years preparing for this moment, learning where every important system was located. In 15 minutes, the galaxy's most powerful warship was drifting dead in space. Its crew was gone, its weapons were offline, and its computer systems were wiped clean. The ship that had terrorized dozens of worlds was now just an empty hull. Dr. Frank Wilson completed his mission with the Corvani scientific community. For 6 years, he had worked alongside alien researchers, helping them develop new technologies. The aliens had trusted him completely, sharing their most advanced research and treating him like a colleague. "All research data has been corrupted beyond recovery," Frank reported to Earth Command. "If they wanted to wipe out human knowledge, they can experience the same loss." Frank had done more than just destroy their current research. He had planted viruses in their computer systems that would destroy any attempt to rebuild their scientific knowledge. The Corvani, who had been one of the galaxy's most advanced species, would be reduced to primitive technology within months. The aliens' panic was spreading across their remaining communication networks. They had expected retaliation for New Haven, perhaps an attack on a military base or angry diplomatic protests. They had not expected their entire civilizations to be methodically erased from existence. By day 4, 7 empires had been completely eliminated. The remaining 3 tried desperately to surrender, sending messages offering reparations, apologies, and promises of eternal peace. They offered to pay for rebuilding New Haven, to give humans entire star systems, to become servants if necessary. Humanity's response was swift and final. No surrender would be accepted. Admiral Carol Lee commanded the final assault on the Nexus Coalition. She had been posing as a trade representative for 4 years, negotiating deals and building relationships with coalition leaders. They had invited her to state dinners, introduced her to their families, and shared their hopes for the future. "They had the chance for peace when they chose not to attack our civilians," Carol said as her fleet moved into position. "That chance has expired permanently." The coalition leaders broadcast desperate pleas across the galaxy, begging other species to intervene. They promised to become pacifists, to never leave their home systems again, to destroy their own weapons if humans would just stop the attack. Carol listened to their pleas without emotion. Where were these offers of peace when they were celebrating the murder of our children? The systematic destruction continued with perfect precision. Orbital platforms were vaporized by weapons that appeared from empty space. Planetary shields collapsed as the generators were sabotaged from within. Entire star systems went dark as humans cut power to alien infrastructure with surgical strikes. Colonel Jerry Hughes transmitted the final report from the ruins of the 10th Empire's capital. Target eliminated. No survivors, no infrastructure intact, no possibility of recovery. The species that participated in murdering New Haven no longer exist. The speed of the destruction was what terrified the surviving aliens most. 10 major empires, civilizations that had dominated space for thousands of years, had been completely erased in less than a week. The thoroughness was beyond anything they had thought possible. Captain Monica Bell led the cleanup operations on the former Thraxan worlds. Her job was to make sure that nothing remained that could be used to rebuild their civilization. Human teams moved across planet surfaces with devices that broke down metal and concrete at the molecular level. All urban centers have been reduced to their component atoms, Monica reported. The planets are now empty worlds with clean atmospheres and fertile soil. Future colonists will find no trace that anyone ever lived here. What truly horrified the surviving aliens was the realization of how completely they had been deceived. Humanity had not been the naive newcomers they appeared to be. They had been apex predators studying their prey for generations, waiting for the right moment to strike. Agent Danny Brooks emerged from his cover in what used to be the Zephyrian government. For 8 years, he had worked as a translator and cultural advisor, attending important meetings and helping with diplomatic communications. The aliens had trusted him with their most sensitive information. Intelligence gathering phase complete, Danny reported. Every secret, every weakness, every hidden resource has been cataloged and exploited. They never suspected that their helpful human advisors were actually their executioners. The psychological warfare had been just as devastating as the physical destruction. Humans had made sure to broadcast the destruction of each empire to the next target, showing them exactly what awaited them. The knowledge that their death was coming, combined with their complete inability to prevent it, had broken the spirits of entire species. The galaxy fell into stunned silence. Species that had been planning their own attacks on human settlements quietly canceled those plans. Trade agreements with humans were renewed immediately. Diplomatic relations that had been strained suddenly became friendly. Commander Alex Turner coordinated the final phase of the operation from Earth Command. His job was to make sure that no trace remained of the destroyed empires, no hidden colonies, no refugee fleets, no backup data storage facilities. All 10 empires have been completely eliminated, Alex reported to President Davis. Their species no longer exist anywhere in known space. Their technologies have been destroyed. Their cultures have been erased. It is as if they never existed. The message was clear to every remaining alien species. This is what happens when you murder human children. The peaceful traders and diplomats were still there, still willing to work together and build a better galaxy. But underneath that peaceful exterior was something far more dangerous. Predators who had chosen to be friendly, rather than species who were naturally peaceful. The 10 empires that had celebrated New Haven's destruction were gone forever. Their names would be remembered only as a warning to others. Leave humanity's children alone or join them in oblivion. The galaxy existed in complete silence after the 10 Empire War ended. Humanity had not occupied the destroyed worlds or claimed their resources. They had simply eliminated 10 entire civilizations and returned to their previous peaceful activities, as if nothing unusual had happened. President Helen Davis stood at the podium in the rebuilt New Haven Memorial Station. The new station was more beautiful than the original colony, but it was built directly over the mass graves of 12 million humans. Every alien ambassador in the galaxy was watching this speech. Let this serve as the final lesson about humanity, Helen said, her voice calm and steady. We are not your enemies unless you choose to make us so. We prefer to build rather than destroy. We choose cooperation over conquest, but that choice can be revoked. The psychological impact on the remaining alien species was devastating. Every human they worked with, their translators, their trade partners, their cultural advisors, their diplomatic staff, could potentially be a sleeper agent of a species capable of total war. Ambassador Charles White stood before the Galactic Trade Council in the same chamber where alien representatives had celebrated New Haven's destruction just 2 weeks earlier. His presence now carried an entirely different weight. The same aliens who had laughed at human weakness now avoided making eye contact with him. "Humanity seeks peaceful coexistence with all species," Charles said in the same friendly tone he had always used. "We hope recent events have clarified what happens when that peace is violated." The alien delegates sat in complete silence. They remembered this human ambassador bringing them gifts and trade proposals. They had thought he was just a harmless diplomat trying to make friends. Now they realized he could have been cataloging their weaknesses and planning their destruction. The aliens who had celebrated New Haven's destruction found themselves completely isolated. No empire wanted to associate with those who had triggered humanity's wrath. The destroyed civilizations became cautionary tales told across the galaxy. Stories about what happened when you made the mistake of thinking humans were weak. Director Nathan Pierce briefed the Earth Council on the new strategic situation. Our sleeper networks remain in place throughout alien space. Every human working in an alien government, every human trader visiting alien worlds, every human researcher studying alien cultures, they all continue their peaceful activities. The galaxy now understands that attacking humanity carries consequences beyond their worst nightmares. Trade resumed within days of the last empire's destruction. Diplomatic relations continued normally. Cultural exchanges restarted. On the surface, everything returned to exactly how it had been before New Haven's destruction. But beneath the peaceful exterior, every alien species now knew they were dealing with something far more dangerous than they had realized. Captain Jake Morrison, now Admiral of the Outer Rim Fleet, stood on the observation deck of New Haven Memorial Station. Through the transparent walls, he could see children playing in parks that had been built over the sites where their predecessors had died. The rebuilt colony was thriving, but the memorial walls carried the names of every person who had been murdered. "Never again," Jake whispered, watching a young girl run laughing through a playground. "Never again will humanity be caught unprepared." The galaxy learned to appreciate humanity's restraint in a way they never had before. Every peaceful interaction with humans became a reminder that this species had chosen friendship over their natural inclination toward total warfare. Every trade deal, every diplomatic meeting, every cultural exchange carried the unspoken understanding that humans could have chosen conquest instead. Agent Danny Brooks returned to his cover identity as a cultural advisor to the Altarian Republic. The aliens welcomed him back warmly, but there was a new nervousness in their interactions. They knew that he had probably been reporting their secrets to Earth Command for years, but they also knew that questioning him would be seen as hostile behavior toward humanity. "It's good to have you back, Danny," said Chancellor Vex, the Altarian leader. "We were worried about you during the recent unpleasantness." Danny smiled the same friendly smile he had always used. "I was never in any danger, Chancellor. Humans were only targeting species that had made specific choices about our children. The Altarian Republic has always been a friend to humanity." The Chancellor relaxed slightly, but Danny could see the fear in his eyes. Every alien leader now wondered if they had ever done anything that might be interpreted as threatening to humans. They remembered every joke they had made about human weakness, every comment about the human problem, every moment when they had treated humanity as inferior. Years passed, and new alien civilizations emerged to fill the void left by the destroyed empires. Each new species was carefully taught the same lesson by their neighbors. Humanity wanted friends, not subjects. But those who chose to be enemies would be removed from existence with absolute thoroughness. Dr. Sarah Kim worked at the Galactic University, teaching alien students about human culture and history. Her classes were always full because every species wanted to understand humanity better. The students were respectful and eager to learn, very different from the arrogant aliens who had attended her classes before the 10 Empire War. Professor Kim asked a young Valdrakian student, "Is it true that humans had been preparing for war for centuries before New Haven was attacked?" Sarah considered her answer carefully. "Humans have always believed in being prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. We wanted peace, but we knew that not everyone in the galaxy might want the same thing." The student nodded thoughtfully. "And the humans working throughout alien space, were they all really spies?" "They were humans doing their jobs and serving their species," Sarah replied. Just like Valdrakian diplomats serve Valdrak, human diplomats serve humanity. The difference is that humans are very thorough in how they serve. The Ten Empire War became legend, then myth, then fundamental truth encoded in the basic understanding of galactic civilization. When you encountered humans, you treated them with respect, not because they demanded it, but because the alternative was extinction. In human space, life continued peacefully. Children attended schools where they learned about art, science, and literature. Families raised crops and built homes. Scientists pursued knowledge, and artists created beauty. The galaxy's most dangerous predators had chosen to be gardeners instead of hunters. But in classified military installations throughout human space, Project Ragnarok remained active. The weapons system stayed operational and ready. The sleeper networks continued their watch. New agents were trained and placed in positions throughout alien governments. The lesson of New Haven was never forgotten. Colonel Lisa Parker, now a general, oversaw the training of new intelligence operatives. Remember, she told each new class, we are not conquerors, we are guardians. Our job is to make sure that what happened at New Haven never happens again. The trainees learned languages, cultures, and technologies. They learned how to blend in with alien societies and how to gather intelligence without being detected. Most importantly, they learned how to identify threats to human children before those threats could become actions. Admiral Carol Lee monitored alien communications from a listening post near the galactic rim. Her job was to watch for any signs that alien species might be planning aggressive actions against humanity. The galaxy had become very quiet since the Ten Empire War, but vigilance remained necessary. Any unusual activity? Asked her aide, Commander Mike Phillips. The usual trade discussions and diplomatic chatter, Carol replied. Every now and then someone mentions the Ten Empire War, but only to remind others not to repeat their mistakes. Humanity had proven they could erase civilizations from existence in less than a week. Now they were proving they could choose not to, as long as they were never given reason to change their minds. The galaxy was at peace, enforced by the certain knowledge that those who broke it would cease to exist entirely. It was perhaps the most effective diplomatic strategy in the history of interstellar relations. Peace through the absolute certainty of overwhelming consequences for those who chose war. And in the rebuilt parks of New Haven Memorial Station, human children played safely under the stars, protected by the knowledge that the galaxy would never again mistake human kindness for human weakness.